You are standing right at the edge of the room. The music is pounding. It's just vibrating up through the floorboards and straight into your ribs.
Yeah, and you are holding a plastic cup with a drink you don't even want.
Exactly. The condensation is like dripping onto your fingers, making them sticky, and you are staring intensely at the digital clock on the far wall.
Just doing the complex mental maths to figure out the exact minute you can leave.
Right. Figuring out how to leave this wedding reception or this club or this party without causing an offense to the host.
You're watching the dance floor from that safe perimeter, and, I mean, everyone else out there just seems to be moving so effortlessly.
Yeah, they're dissolving into the crowd, laughing, bumping into each other, having this entirely shared intuitive experience.
And you are just frozen there by the drinks table, calculating your exit strategy and wondering why this completely normal human activity feels so impossibly dangerous.
Well, this is Quiet Power from Hey ASD. We're doing a deep dive today into an article from the Hey ASD Autism blog called Why Many Autistic Adults Hate Dancing.
And we really want to make the absolute mission of this deep dive immediately clear to you.
Yes, we are taking this aversion completely seriously. We are not here to coax you onto the floor. We are not here to help you find the right song or, give you tips on how to blend in.
Not at all.
We are here to validate your dread. We are going to break down the exact mechanics of why this environment is so genuinely hostile to you.
Because people always assume you're just being uptight.
Right.
Or shy, or that you just lack rhythm. They treat it like this minor character flaw.
Right, like you just need to relax.
Yeah. But isn't a dance floor actually a highly concentrated assault of absolutely everything that makes navigating the physical and social world difficult for you?
It is an absolute assault. I mean, it is the perfect storm of sensory and social demands.
Yeah.
And to understand why you feel that dread, we really have to move past the idea that this is just social anxiety. We have to look at the immediate physical reality of that room.
Because it's not just in your head.
No, it is a literal bombardment on your senses and your physical body.
Let's unpack the sensory battlefield first. Because the research in the article points out that an estimated 90% of you have sensory processing differences.
Right.
And that fundamentally changes the physics of the room. That means the environment of a typical club or a party isn't just a bit loud or a bit uncomfortable, it is actively hostile to your nervous system.
Exactly. When you step into that room, you aren't just hearing music. Your brain is trying to process a dozen competing intense signals at once, but without any filtering mechanism.
Wow. Okay. Like what?
Well, take the lighting. You have strobe lights or those rotating disco lasers cutting through the darkness.
Which everyone else seems to love.
Right. For a neurotypical brain, that's just a fun visual effect. But for your visual processing, a strobe light actually fragments reality.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it chops time and movement into these harsh, disjointed frames, which is incredibly disorienting.
I've always wondered about the physical sensation of the sound, too, because people will say things like, oh, just let the bass ground you. But I imagine that if your sensory processing is already overwhelmed, a heavy bass line doesn't feel grounding at all.
Not at all. I mean, for a neurotypical person, the bass is a rhythm, right? It's a tempo to follow. For you, the bass is often a literal physical force.
Like an impact.
Yes, it is a concussion thumping against your chest. It can actually disrupt your awareness of your own heartbeat.
That sounds terrifying.
It is. It makes it physically impossible to string a coherent thought together because your brain is registering that intense vibration as an impact, not a melody. It feels like chaos rather than rhythm.
And then, you add the sheer volume of moving bodies to that chaos, the constant, entirely unpredictable loss of personal space, strangers bumping into your shoulders, elbows grazing you, the heat of a crowded room.
Yeah, it's suffocating.
For a nervous system that requires predictability and autonomy, just to feel a baseline level of safety, that physical crowding isn't just annoying. It is immediately, viscerally anxiety-inducing.
But here's the thing. That is just the environment.
Right. Just standing there.
Yeah. That is the baseline trauma of just existing in the room before you have even attempted to move a single muscle to the music.
Oh, man.
And that brings us to the actual physical mechanics of dancing, which for many of you involved navigating dyspraxia and proprioception differences.
Right. So dyspraxia being the neurological difficulty with motor planning and coordination.
Yes.
The brain knows perfectly well what it wants the body to do, but the signal gets scrambled somewhere on the pathway to the muscles.
Exactly. But it's not just clumsiness. It's an active glitch in the translation between intention and action. and it is usually paired with poor proprioception.
I want to push on that for a second because proprioception is one of those clinical terms that gets thrown around a lot without really being understood.
It really
For
does.
someone who doesn't experience it, proprioception is basically automatic, right? If I close my eyes, I still know my hand is raised. Are you saying that for you it's a manual calculation?
That is exactly what it is. Proprioception is your brain's internal 3D map of where your body is in space.
Oh.
If you have poor proprioception, that map is constantly dropping its signal. You don't reliably know what your limbs are doing unless you are actively watching them with your eyes.
Wow.
You do not have that automatic intuitive sense of where your arm is when it's behind your back or how far your foot is from the floor. You are driving a manual car in a world where everyone else was born with an automatic transmission.
So you have to consciously think about shifting every single gear.
Every single one.
Yep.
So on a dance floor, you're trying to coordinate complex rhythmic movements without a reliable internal map of your own body.
You are manually calculating the trajectory of your elbows and knees, all while your visual field is being fractured by flashing lights.
Yep.
And your auditory processing is being completely overwhelmed by a wall of bass.
To put the sheer exhaustion of that into perspective, the physical demand of dancing in a club for you is like being asked to solve a highly complex algebra problem while standing on a balance beam during an earthquake.
That is, wow, that really paints a picture.
The sheer cognitive and physical effort required to coordinate your limbs, to figure out where your arms and legs are supposed to go while the ground is vibrating and the lights are flashing, is entirely disproportionate to what it looks like from the outside.
Which really frames the absurdity of the advice you always get, doesn't it?
Oh, completely.
When a well-meaning friend drags you onto the floor and yells, "Just feel the music,"
Right.
how entirely impossible is that instruction when your brain and body are already locked in a desperate struggle to communicate about where your limbs even are?
It is an excruciating instruction. It demands an intuitive, fluid, physical response that your neurology is actively, structurally fighting against.
Yeah.
Feeling the music requires a baseline physical safety that you do not have in that room. And this physical reality transitions us directly into the psychological nightmare that makes the dance floor so punishing.
The social trap.
The social trap, yes.
Well, let's play devil's advocate for a moment.
Yeah.
Let's say, hypothetically, we took away the sensory assault. We turn off the strobe lights, we turn the music down to a reasonable volume, we give you plenty of personal space in a well-lit, sensory-considerate room. The dread doesn't just vanish, does it?
Not at all. Because even in a quiet room, the lack of structure still makes dancing a complete minefield.
Right.
Once we moved past the physical inability to comfortably move, we crash straight into the crushing social expectation of exactly how you are supposed to move.
Because freestyle social dancing has no defined rules.
Right.
There is no script. You are being forced to improvise your physical movements in real time, in public, in front of an audience.
And I want to talk directly to you about the sheer exhaustion of this ambiguity.
Yeah.
Think about how much of your life you have spent painstakingly working out the social rules of the world.
So much time.
You have studied how to hold a conversation. You have learned exactly how much eye contact is considered polite before it becomes staring.
Yeah.
You have memorized when to nod, when to laugh, how to perform these intricate neurotypical scripts that most people just absorbed intuitively without ever thinking about them.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
You have spent decades building a massive internal database to keep yourself safe, acceptable, and understood.
And then suddenly, at a wedding reception, someone pulls you onto a stage where there are deliberately no rules at all.
Exactly. The database crashes. You were told, just do whatever you want. But we all know that is a trap.
It's a total illusion of freedom because it feels like there are actually highly specific, invisible rules for dancing, and you're just the only person in the room who wasn't handed the manual.
Right. Because if you actually did whatever you wanted, if you started stimming or rocking, people would stare.
Exactly. So it's not no rules, it's just unspoken rules.
Spot on. The cognitive load of trying to guess what is expected of you in real time, while simultaneously trying not to look like you are overthinking it, is absolutely exhausting.
Which explains a lot.
Yeah, it's why there is such a sharp contrast between freestyle dancing and structured movement.
The article points out that structured dance, like line dancing, a C-lid, or learning a specific choreography, is often entirely bearable for you.
Sometimes it's even deeply enjoyable.
I used to think choreography would be worse because it's so rigid. But you're saying the rigidity is exactly what makes it safe.
Precisely. Because the ambiguity is entirely removed. If there are defined steps, like the Macarena or the Nutbush, you can learn the sequence. You can execute it predictably.
You don't have to guess.
No, you can direct all of your attention to the mechanical execution of the movement rather than the terrifying improvisation. You know exactly what is expected of you, and you know exactly when it ends.
But the freestyle dance floor is just an ambiguous void.
It is.
And worse, that void comes with the unbearable anxiety of being watched.
Yes, the spotlight effect. The feeling of eyes being on you. For you, this isn't just feeling a bit self-conscious or shy.
It's way deeper than that.
It triggers a deep-seated biological fight-or-flight response. Your nervous system registers being perceived, being watched, while you are vulnerable and unscripted, as a genuine threat to your safety.
Wow.
You do not want to be the center of attention in a situation that is specifically, deliberately designed to make you visible.
Which leads to the hardest question about all of this. Is opting out actually an option?
Usually, no.
Because it seems like the defining feature of a dance floor is that standing at the edge of the room refusing to participate actually draws significantly more scrutiny than if you just forced yourself to blend in.
That is the ultimate inescapable trap of the dance floor. Unlike almost any other social activity, you cannot opt out inconspicuously.
Right. If you're at a loud dinner party and you get overwhelmed, you can just stop talking.
Exactly. You can sip your water and blend into the background, and people will just assume you're listening.
Yeah.
But if everyone is dancing to a wedding DJ and you are standing stiffly at the edge of the room, your non-participation becomes a glaring spectacle.
You become a target for the helpers.
You do. The scrutiny and the lack of rules culminate in people deciding that you need to be rescued from your own boundaries.
They mean well, but
But they come over, they grab your arm, they pull you toward the center of the room, and they deliver the most punishing, dangerous instruction you can possibly receive in that environment.
just let go and have fun.
Yes.
We really need to explore why that specific phrase is actually a threat. Because to a neurotypical person, letting go sounds like a relief. It sounds like a gift. They assume that your hesitation is just a tight grip on your own inhibitions, and if they can just break through that shyness, you'll feel liberated.
It is a fundamentally dangerous assumption. The impossibility of losing yourself is absolute when you have never, not even for one single day, been able to stop monitoring yourself just to survive in a neurotypical world.
Just let go is a demand to unmask on command.
Yes, it is a demand to drop your survival mechanisms in public, in front of everyone,
Yeah.
at the least safe possible moment.
Be-
You rely on your mask to keep you safe. You rely on that hypervigilance to keep you functioning, to manage the overwhelming sensory inputs, to calculate your proprioception, to translate the social rules.
And they want you to just turn it off.
Asking you to just drop all of that machinery while strobe lights are flashing and strangers are bumping into you is completely reckless. It is like asking someone to take off their spacesuit because the vacuum of space looks like fun.
That is such a perfect way to put it. And when you are forced to participate under that immense pressure, when those well-meaning friends or relatives physically override your boundaries and pull you into the crowd, it creates the absolute perfect conditions for sensory overload to escalate into a shutdown or a meltdown.
And it is so critical that we frame what those events actually are, because the outside world constantly misinterprets them.
They really do.
When that sensory and social pressure hits your absolute neurological limit, your brain pulls the emergency brake. Meltdowns and shutdowns are not behavioral choices. They are not you being dramatic.
Yeah.
They are profound, involuntary neurological crises in response to being pushed completely past your capacity to process the world.
When you hit that wall and that overload spills over, people assume it's a tantrum if it's a meltdown. Or they think you're just giving them the silent treatment if it's a shutdown.
Right.
But a meltdown is an involuntary loss of behavioral control because the nervous system is frying. And a shutdown is the opposite. Your brain withdrawing, going entirely nonverbal, becoming physically unable to communicate just to protect itself from further damage.
Neither is a choice.
No.
When someone forces you to dance, they are knowingly or unknowingly pushing your nervous system directly toward that crisis.
Yeah.
They are overriding your bodily autonomy for the sake of a party atmosphere.
It's honestly enraging when you look at it that way.
I was actually reading Daniel Burford's book recently, The Unmasking Years. He's an autistic man who didn't get diagnosed until he was 38, so he spent decades navigating this exact expectation.
Oh, wow.
And he hits on this feeling perfectly. He points out that telling you to let go and be yourself is a completely impossible instruction for someone who has never been allowed to do so.
That makes total sense.
It completely ignores the profound, bone-deep exhaustion of performing social scripts that were never written for you in the first place.
It's a complete erasure of your lived experience. You can't just shed a lifetime of hardwired survival mechanics just because the DJ decides to play ABBA. It doesn't work like that.
Which really brings us to what this whole conversation is actually about. If we strip away the music, if we turn off the flashing lights,
Yeah.
if we send the well-meaning relatives and the pushy friends home.
We get down to the core of it. The point of this discussion isn't really the dancing at all, is it?
No. The point is what the dread of the dance floor reveals about your life. It reveals how much of your existence has been spent performing a body.
The dance floor just takes a lifetime of bodily performance and concentrates it into one inescapable, highly visible room.
You have spent decades monitoring your posture so you don't look weird.
Yeah?
You have spent years suppressing your natural movements, hiding your stems, forcing yourself to make painful eye contact, and deliberately inhabiting physical space in a way that is designed entirely to make neurotypical people comfortable.
Constantly adjusting yourself.
You have learned to translate your own physical existence into a foreign language just to be allowed in the room.
It's the ultimate exhaustion of being asked to perform joy in an environment that is actively causing you physical and psychological pain.
Exactly. The dread you feel standing at the edge of the dance floor isn't a lack of rhythm. It is your nervous system screaming that it cannot perform this body for one more second.
Wow.
It is the exhaustion of being told that your natural way of moving is wrong, and that to participate in human joy, you have to move in a way that feels incredibly unsafe.
So when you are standing there, calculating the minutes, trying to figure out how to escape the scrutiny, you aren't fighting the music. You are fighting a lifetime of masking.
So, to the person standing at the edge of the room, the person holding the sweaty plastic cup, doing the mental maths, calculating the exact exit strategy to avoid being dragged into the spotlight.
Yeah.
I want you to hear this plainly. You are allowed to not do this.
You don't have to find a compromise. You don't have to find the right song.
Your no is a fundamental right. Standing at the edge of the room feeling terrified never meant anything was wrong with you. It meant your body was responding logically to an environment that was not built for it. You do not owe anyone an explanation, and you absolutely do not owe anyone a performance.
The full article is at heyasd.com in the Autism blog.